Happy Monday, everyone. I am so excited. So, today, what I'm going to be talking about is three clients that I've helped break into product. A lot of people who reach out to me come to me because I've had a career in product and they want to either pivot into product or they want to grow their career in product. And I've helped numerous people. I will say 40% of the clients that I have worked with have either transitioned into a product manager role from a non-traditional background, non-linear background, or they have grown their product career, either moved up from senior individual contributor to director of product, or to VP of product, or to even CPO. So one of the biggest questions that I get is, how do I break into product without ever having the title? And so I'm going to share with you three client examples, and then in terms of breaking into product. And I'm also going to share with you a couple of examples of clients who moved up within product. That way you can learn the step-by-step and see if you can implement it. Alrighty. So I'm going to just share my screen, honestly, because I built a visual to help you guys see how these clients were able to succeed. So let me do this. Okay, here we go. Okay, I actually built this carousel a while back, 3 ways to pivot into product. So one of my clients that I've helped was a doctor from Nigeria who broke into product management. When she came to me, I was a little bit shocked because I didn't even know that she was a medical doctor. I did not know that she had a medical degree. And when her and I first talked, the only thing she had on her LinkedIn profile was that she was a student studying at a college. And there was something off about it because I knew that I'm sitting in front of someone who's quite articulate, who's quite experienced. I could just tell because, I coach people all the time. I've worked with over 1,000 people, and I can tell when someone is experienced. And it just felt like she was hiding part of herself, and I couldn't understand why. She thought that she had to remove her basically experience as a doctor from her LinkedIn profile. And I was shocked that she felt that she had to do that. That was the advice she was being given. She was told that all of her experience outside of Canada was irrelevant. All of her medical, experience was irrelevant. And all she had was basically the work that she was doing as a student. And so what happened was her and I ended up working together. And part of the reason that she wanted to basically pivot out of being a doctor was because she did not want to repeat her medical exams. I mean, think about it. She spent like close to a decade studying, spending so much money on her tuition. The thought of even redoing all of that to become a doctor again was not something she was interested in. So she was looking to basically land in a product adjacent role. Or rather, a role that's still within, the health field that didn't require her to go back and redo all of her degrees. So what she did was she completed a DBA internship. For those of you who don't know what that is, it is basically like something within, information technology. She was studying databases and things like that. And even though she was, getting into tech, she still didn't want to lose that vision of basically helping people within the health space, right? I mean, she still has a passion in the medical field. So after her and I sat down together, we came to the conclusion that what if you actually get into a health tech company that builds, products, medical products that improve people's lives? So rather than spending years navigating this pivot, she joined my community and my program so that we can help her. And there were three qualities that I want you guys to pay attention to that really helped her succeed. Because if you adopt those qualities, you are going to improve your chances of navigating this pivot. First, she had a clear vision. A lot of you, when you are navigating a career transition or wanting to pivot into a particular career, you're so fixated on the title and you don't spend time understanding the why. What brings you joy? Why do you do what you do? Why do you want to get into what you want to get into? Right. So she had a vision of helping people while leveraging her medical experience. That was her vision. The second thing that really helped her was her grit. So, one of the things that her and I worked on was overcoming her imposter syndrome. She had a lot of imposter syndrome around I'm not technical enough. I don't know if I'm going to be able to be successful in the role. I've never done it before. And it was kind of funny because one of the things that I do with my clients is I go back into their story to understand some of the pivotal moments, some of the experiences that they've had. And she shared with me a story of how she literally built a clinic while she was in Switzerland with her husband. And part of the, technology that she brought in was the electronic medical records. And so I was kind of surprised as she felt that that was not product related because it truly was. When you are running a business, when you're building a business, it's the same thing as building a product. You have to research, what your ideal customer wants. You have to make sure that you're aligning to their requirements. You need to learn how to market, your business, which is the same thing as marketing a product. So I actually helped her connect the dots between what she was doing in her past and how it is actually relevant to product. One of the things that I basically have developed in terms of framework is the value pyramid. And I'm going to share that later on. But basically, there are different levels of awareness in terms of the value that you bring to the table. And sometimes the way we describe what we do is through the activity level. We talk about what we did, but we don't really talk about how what we did is connected to a benefit, you know? And we also are not always aware of the skill set that is underlying, because whatever activity that you perform at work utilizes a particular skill set, and that skill set is what's transferable to other professions or what I call contexts, And once you get very clear on what that skill set is, it becomes much easier to navigate pivots. So anyway, I helped her connect the dots. We also mocked a lot for her interviews and built her confidence so that when she was telling her story, she was not pigeonholing it to I'm just a doctor and what I've done is just medicine, but we had to reframe the story to, hey, I've actually built these products while I was a doctor. Okay. The third one, and I want you guys to tell me what your favorite one is, right? Which of these three qualities are your favorite? Having a clear vision, having grit, or authenticity. So type in the chat, what is your favorite quality that you've heard so far? Vision, grit, or authenticity? This will help you pay attention and also take note of what you need to do in order to navigate your pivot. Okay, so authenticity, what do I mean by that? We actually didn't fake any of her branding. Some people, when they think of pivots, they think that, oh, I need to fake titles. I need to pretend that I was a product manager. I need to just stuff my resume with a whole bunch of keywords. And at this point in time, this advice is beyond outdated. It actually never worked in the first place, but now it's even worse because we're at a point where recruiters are very skeptical. There's a lot of people who are faking, their experience. And now that AI screening has been introduced very recently, AI is doing a better job at screening, versus how recruiters were screening manually. I mean, they still do, but I would say that you guys need to actually be happy that companies are starting to bring in AI screening, because AI has more accuracy and it can take on a lot of information and sift through it. However, when your resume is heavily faked, and when your resume is heavily basically loaded with some superficial AI stuff with keywords, AI itself during the screening can actually smell that. But when you're telling a real story and you're being specific about what you've done, then AI can also help connect the dots when it comes to screening. So when it comes to authenticity, we did not fake any of her branding, and we actually embraced her previous medical experience as part of her story. That actually made her more desirable as a candidate in health tech companies, because she has the domain background. She is actually a doctor. She is someone who used those products in the past, so she understands them. And so she brings in a perspective that someone who's purely 100% technical does not bring to the table. Okay, now I want to talk to you about a second story. So case study number one, a medical doctor who broke into product. Now I want to go over a client from journalism who broke into product. So I'm giving you all these examples because they're going to help you realize that, oh my God, like these are completely different people and they were all able to get into product. It kind of, you know, contradicts the myth that people have, like you need to be a certain type of person to break into product, because these are like three completely different people with different skill sets and they were all able to get there. Okay, so my client Elaine, she is an incredible writer, and she pivoted into tech by working for a digital marketing company as a project manager, but she felt burnt out. It was not her cup of tea to be in like digital marketing. Digital marketing, you can see, is quite close to journalism, right? Because, marketing, journalism, you write, marketing, same thing. It's a lot of like creating ads and creating copy in order to build awareness of a product or a service. So it wasn't a huge transition when she went from journalism to digital marketing. But for her, it felt like a big pivot to go from basically digital marketing to product management. And so the key thing with Elaine that we did, first of all, she kind of knew that she wanted to get into product because she was told by her partner at the time that this would be a good, career for her. But what validated it was when her and I sat down together. And this is always what I do with my clients, because sometimes you may think, oh, you know what? I don't know if this is the right path for me. What if I end up getting into it and fail? What if it's a mistake that I'm making? And how I validate that is I get my clients to complete my career archetype assessment. And it's a very comprehensive assessment. One of the things I get my clients to do is to journal pivotal moments from birth all the way to present, because it helps me pull their story. And so as I was reading what she journaled, I read a story of how she was working at a gym when she was in college. And there were all these grumpy people who would show up at the gym at 6 in the morning. And when they would tap their card in order to get in, the turnstile would end up like hitting their legs and they would be cursing because they have no idea when it's actually safe to go through. And so she ended up partnering with the guy in IT to build basically a visual so that when people tap their card, it would just have like a green arrow that tells them it's safe to go through. And that was like back in the day, right? Now it's like we have better technology. But still, the fact that she did that, even though she felt it was a hobby, it just showed me that, yeah, she absolutely is capable of being a product manager. She has an entrepreneurial mindset. She is able to come up with ideas. I always say that product managers, I call them plants. And I don't know if you guys are familiar. There is something called Belbin. It's like a personality test, and it sort of tells you like what kind of thinker you are. Some people are plants, some people are implementers. So I find that a lot of product managers are plants, and plants are people who come up with ideas all the time. So if you're the kind of person who's able to come up with ideas, improvements to a product, then you are definitely a plant, and you have a huge tendency to become an amazing product manager. So, anyway, when she told me that story, I knew that she's capable of landing a product manager role. And she actually used that story. I coached her to tell that story, to answer the tell me about yourself question. It's her origin story into becoming a product manager. And when she shared it, the interviewers did not care that she didn't have the title before. And they took a leap of faith on her, and she ended up landing the product manager role. In fact, she landed 3 six-figure product manager offers when we worked together. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 qualities that helped Elaine pivot successfully. And I'd love you guys to share with me again which one is your favorite. Um, Number 1, storytelling. So Elaine realized the storytelling framework I teach is very similar to what she actually learned when she was a journalist. And when we crafted her story together, it was so engaging. It was so impressive. To this day, I actually share her story with a lot of my clients who want to learn how to answer tell me about yourself question. So, like, the journalism in her actually, came through. The second quality that made her successful was consistency. She followed my process and she did not give up. Listen, when you're going through a pivot, it's not about templates and resumes and things like that. It really is about an end-to-end system. You need to nail, like, what I call your sweet spot. What is your sweet spot? You need to figure that out. Even if we decide that product management is the right fit for you, because by the way, I don't just help people land product roles, I also help people land a variety of roles. And that's the benefit of working with me, because if we find out that product management is not the right fit for you, then we pick something that is the right fit. But yeah, um, you need, in order to navigate like a pivot, you need the end-to-end system. 1, we need to get clear on your sweet spot. 2, we need to build a brand around the right role for you. And then we need to work on converting those interviews into offers. And sometimes what happens when people get stuck and they're not, landing the offer, there could be something, it could be one of the steps, right? And sometimes people are not sure which of these steps is the hurdle. And so her and I were sitting down, we were testing everything, and we were figuring out, okay, we got the right role. We narrowed it down to, senior level product manager roles in a particular industry. Now we got to move on to getting interviews. She was not getting interviews before. We overcame that hurdle. Then it was, okay, she's getting a lot of interviews, but none of them are converting into offers. So we need to go back and figure out, is it something that she's saying in those interviews? And so the most successful people who work with me, they realize that it's an entire system. They don't give up. They're not like, oh, yeah, I'm not getting interviews. Oh, I'm just gonna give up. I'm not gonna try. No, they're consistent. They keep applying the process that I teach them, and they openly share with me the data so that we can figure out what needs to be fixed. Okay, the third one is self-respect. That one is very important. The thing is, you guys, when you're looking for a job, when you're navigating a pivot, it's important that you don't settle for just anything. How do I say this? It's almost like dating. You want to be pursued versus chase all the time. You want to have standards. And I find that the people who don't have standards, who are willing to accept anything, they're the ones who don't always succeed in their pivot, right? I'm not saying like don't if you're unemployed, right? I'm not saying like if you're unemployed, don't work and don't take any job. I'm saying that sure, like get that security, get that safety, get that financial, stability and temporarily, right? And then once you do, be clear about what you want. Because if you're not clear about what you want and what makes you happy, then you're just going to emit this desperation energy. And recruiters can tell when you are desperate. They can tell when you're not valuing yourself, and it's not a good position to be in. So with Elaine in particular, I remember she got an offer, or she was interviewing for a company that was asking her to travel for like 2 hours to get to an office. And they had a huge problem with like not being remote, right? Like they were measuring her success by how many times she's in the office. And for her, like that was a huge, basically, clash to her values. And the funny thing is that she was very clear about that. She said no, and she got a way better opportunity afterwards. So yeah, Jay, absolutely. You should never settle for any job. Again, I tell people that when it comes to your job search, it's like dating, it's like relationships. Imagine if you are dating and you just accept the person to treat you however they want to treat you, right? You're not going to end up being in a good relationship long term. Like if the fear is I'm just going to be with that person so that I'm not alone, that's not a good thing, right? And it's the same thing with jobs. Like, oh, I'm just going to accept the way they treat me because I don't want to be without a job. And like I said, I'm not saying, it's not okay to do that temporarily just to get in the money, but you still need to think long term. Great, take that temporary job, but keep your eyes out. Have some standards. Okay. The third example that I wanted to give you guys is this client. His name is Heath. He is one of my best clients. And the reason I say this is because of the amount of grit that he had and what a transformation he created for himself. So when Heath and I were working together, he shared with me that he was a truck driver. He did not have a degree, but he was very passionate about getting into the gaming industry. It was his long-term dream, and he was trying to make it happen his entire life. Heath had a very nonlinear career. He was not like a corporate guy. He started multiple businesses. One of them is his truck driving business. He did a lot of freelancing. He even coached basically people on he coached singers on their voice. He did so many like jobs, right? And so for him, it was going to be a challenge. How do we take this non-linear experience, literally like years of having his own business, freelancing, doing all kinds of things that are not even tech related? How do we take that and turn it into a story that convinces a hiring manager that he is capable of getting into the gaming industry and building products? So One day he decided to put himself into self-imposed homelessness and drive a truck while building a gaming product. That was part of his story before he met me. And he successfully launched his product on the Apple Store. He literally, worked with an engineer who coded, he funded the whole thing, and they both basically worked on it and launched it to the Apple Store. He also ended up working at a startup. He finally got in and into that product role and worked at a startup. But after only 3 months, he got laid off. And then he found me. And when we worked together on his branding and stories, he landed his dream job in Portugal, helping teams build gaming products. Isn't that crazy? You guys tell me, which one is your most favorite story? Is it the doctor who pivoted into product? Is it the journalist who pivoted into product? Or is it Heath's story, who went from being a truck driver, no degree, self-imposed homelessness, and landing a product role? I want to know. Tell me in the chat, which one is your favorite? Okay. These are the three qualities that helped Heath pivot successfully. So one, his grit, obviously putting himself into self-imposed homelessness just says it all. I'm not saying that you guys all should do that, but I'm just saying if someone was able to achieve that goal in that position, then why can't you? Right? When there's a will, there is a way. The second thing is his vision. He loved mentoring people and he wanted to use Agile to build games. And then the third thing is his resourcefulness. Oh my goodness. This guy, he was asking me questions every single day. When people join my program, sometimes they shy away. Sometimes I have to chase them, ask them if they need help. But with him, I never had to worry about him. He would come to me every day and ask me questions, and even help other people within the community. And so he ended up learning from others who were already in product within my community, and other people were actually learning from him. And it got to the point where him and I actually collaborated, and he taught some of the classes in my community. It was crazy. He's such an amazing guy. And by the way, he's still at the same company where I helped him land. Okay. So these are the three success stories that I wanted you guys to look at. And the reason I wanted to show you guys these success stories is because I want to inspire you that anything is honestly possible. And while this story is mainly about people that I've helped break into product, this applies to any profession, regardless of where you're at. You may be feeling stagnant in your career and you're considering a change in your career. I've helped people change industries, change professions, change roles, move up. I recently helped a client who was in hospitality. He was a general manager in hospitality, and he didn't want to do it anymore, and he didn't know what else to do. His whole identity was tied into it, and I helped him basically land a property management role. What was another pivot that I did? I helped someone who is in nonprofit and in humanitarian world pivot into tech, land a role at Meta within AI, and she never had any AI training, and she's doing policy work for Meta. So there's a different, there's a variety of people that I worked with. It's not product, but what I am teaching you right now and what these clients did is honestly transferable to any industry. So I hope that you guys recognize some of these qualities that you need to have. Now, if you're looking for someone who's going to be your trusted advisor, who's going to hold your hand through that career transition, I'm not talking about helping you put a bunch of keywords into a template or just create a piece of paper like your resume. I'm talking about someone who's a trusted advisor like me, who's going to help you through the step-by-step of navigating what I would call this life transition. This is not just a career transition when you're pivoting. This is a life transition. It requires you to be a different person in some way. I'm not saying like different person literally. I'm talking about the best version of who you are, right? It requires a shift of your mindset. It requires you to overcome your imposter syndrome. It requires you to see yourself differently because right now, if you are struggling with your pivot, I will tell you 90% of it is the way you see yourself. It's the way you see your value. You're not seeing your value correctly. You're describing yourself and your value the same way that your role, your company has pigeonholed you into. But what you bring to the table is a lot more than the way you're packaging it and labeling it. And so if you're looking for someone to help you understand that, then this is where I come in. And so if you want to chat with me, you can book a free career diagnosis. So the free career diagnosis is for people who are serious about navigating their career transition. This is not a pick your brain, not a session, because the pick your brain is happening right now. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. I'll happily, answer them. The free career diagnosis is for people who recognize that they don't want to do this alone, because doing it alone means trial and error, and you don't want to waste time anymore. Okay? So if you're at that point where you don't want to waste time and you want to do this properly, then you can book the free career diagnosis with me. And the way the call goes is I'll ask you a few questions to help us diagnose what's blocking you. And then we create a plan and decide if it makes sense for us to work together on it or not, in order to help you achieve your goal of breaking into the new career that you're targeting, whether it's product or outside of product. Okay? So how do you book this call? Very simple. Go to my profile and click the book an appointment button. Once you do that, you can scroll down, you can click on this button and just answer these 2-minute questions. The purpose of these questions is to help me understand what is blocking you, because it's a 15-minute call and I need the information in order for us to be efficient. Okay. So once you navigate that intake form, then you can pick a time and we can chat. Okay. I hope that you guys learned a lot. I would love it. I would absolutely love it if you share with me your biggest takeaway. Whether it is sharing with me which of these case studies was your favorite one, or what is something that you learned that you're going to apply into your career. Like, I love what Jay shared here, that he learned that he's not going to settle for any job. So share with me as well. What would be your favorite, takeaway out of this? And I would absolutely love it if you can just give this a like. It's really going to help with the algorithm. It's going to help someone who is stagnant in their career, doesn't know how to pivot, to watch this and feel inspired, to understand what's possible for them, to learn from these stories. You would be doing that person a huge favor, and you would be doing me a favor, because, I want to help more people. And also, the algorithm, what can I say? It is a Pandora box. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I hope you have a wonderful evening.